this particular truck isn't a long enough wheelbase to accommodate the tank here and then still have the turning radius that's required on the trailer because of the positioning of the kingpin on the trailer. So for this truck to have one permanently mounted on the back, it would need to be a longer wheelbase, which we're finding that more and more companies are getting a little bit longer wheelbase because the short wheelbase don't ride as smooth as the longer wheelbase, and most of the drivers now it's easier to keep drivers if you have a little bit longer wheelbase, and that would work very well to have. If you needed more storage for more mileage, you could instead of 2 small tanks in that compartment, if you had 2 of those larger tanks in there, then you could increase your mileage that you would travel for between fill-ups. If you had 2 tanks, and you're always going to have a diesel tank, because these systems work better with diesel and CNG. That combination we have found works so much better than any spark plug system or any double injection system. Enriching the air and then using your natural setup that you had on the diesel makes for a better fuel burn, better fuel mileage, easier on the motor. It's got so many advantages. You get your power at the right positioning of your stroke to get you the most power because of the instantaneous explosion that you get with the diesel when it is injected into that amount of air that's compressed. It's a faster burn than a spark plug system would be. The spark plug system, unless you advance it as high as and in some instances I've seen, you would have to advance your spark at 41 degrees to be able to get it to have a complete burn before it started on the exhaust cycle. But with diesel, we're getting a complete burn right at the optimum time, which would be when your rod was at a 90-degree angle. You have more leverage, and that's where you get most of your power. We're finding we're getting a better burn and a quicker burn using the diesel that is already on the truck with the enriched CNG air that's causing that to happen. But since you're going to have at least one of these, all you'd ever be able to put on hanging them on the side is one other one, which is only going to be if the manufacturer, we take the maximum they said would go in there, which is 45 gallon, that would only give you 45. If you need more than that, you're going to have them someplace else. And if you're going to have one here, you might as well put 2 and leave your other tank like it was. It'd be so much simpler to have it in the compartment. Set it up on top here. We're going to have brackets that you can quickly mount it on with U-bolts. Be spring loaded on one side to allow for the torque of the frame. This truck, if at the end of the life cycle that its life, say it was going to be put in service for 3 years at this particular company or 4, at the end of that time, you would just simply set that compartment off. It's already going to have its valves, its regulator, everything in there. You wouldn't have to redo anything. You just set it on another truck, run your 2 water hoses to your heater and your low pressure line up to your injectors, and then plug in your ECU and your wiring, and it would be that simple to move it from vehicle to vehicle if it was mounted at the back. But that can only be done if you have a truck with a long enough frame, and my recommendation is going to be at least 30 inches, and we probably prefer 36, so you can put a headache rack there so that if anybody missed the kingpin, you would hit the headache rack before you hit that, and it would look really neat with aluminum headache rack, and they're lightweight and very attractive.
And could you explain to me some of the safety issues concerning diesel composed to the compressed natural gas?
Okay, the natural gas is lighter than air, so if there's any release of natural gas, it goes straight up. It wouldn't be pooling like any other of the fuels that we have now. When you look at diesel, and you think of Timothy McVeigh and the Oklahoma bombing, what catalyst did he use that caused that massive explosion? It was diesel. Diesel and, of course, fertilizer, nitrogen. But anyway, that diesel is what caused that large explosion. That's how he was able to get it. So diesel is very explosive. Natural gas has 130 octane. It takes longer to burn because it's got more octane in it. But as far as safety, it is lighter than air, and it rises. If you had, going back to, say, gasoline, if gasoline had a spill here, it would go to the ground and seek a low level and would be here for some time before it would dissipate. And so your likelihood of an explosion occurring would be more the longer the fuel was there. If the natural gas doesn't have a ignition device right above it where the leak is, it will simply go into the atmosphere.
Okay, well, Lewis, I appreciate you going over this with me today and explaining some of the advantages of CNG and showing me this operation.